You are the one who texts first. You are the one who reaches across the table. You are the one who waits, who hopes, who reads the silence and tries to translate it into love. You believe this proves you care. You are entirely wrong. This is not affection. It is bleeding. And every person watching you do it has already calculated exactly how much of your power they can extract before you notice the wound. There is an architecture beneath every relationship you have ever entered, and you have been violating it your entire adult life. The people you love have already done the math. You have not. Society tells you communication is the foundation of every healthy relationship. They tell you to be vulnerable, to be open, to share what you feel before the feeling festers. They have been feeding you this since you were a child. It is a lie, not an innocent misunderstanding, a deliberate psychological architecture designed to keep you the one who bleeds. The relationship industry built itself on the premise that whoever loves more wins. The premise is inverted. Whoever loves more visibly is the one who is fed upon. Machiavelli understood this 5 centuries ago. He saw that the man who cares first hands the dagger to the man who cares less. The prince does not chase, the prince does not explain his absence. The prince withdraws and lets the silence do the work. He wrote that a ruler must learn how not to be good when the situation demands it. He was not describing kings, he was describing the architecture of every relationship that has ever existed inside a power asymmetry, which is every relationship that has ever existed. This is not a flaw in the system is functioning flawlessly. It was engineered to keep you investing while the powerful sit perfectly still and watch their value compound. Every person who has ever discarded you was running this architecture. They did not learn it in a book. They learned it the same way you learned to walk, by watching who got fed and who did the feeding. Once you see the invisible scales, you can never unsee them, and you will finally know exactly why the people who seem to care the least are sitting on every throne in every room you have ever entered. There are 4 psychological principles that govern the dark architecture of emotional asymmetry. By the end of this, you will hold the exact blueprint that separates the ones who bleed from the ones who reign. But pay close attention to the 3rd principle. It is a psychological weapon so devastating that once you understand it, you will look at the people closest to you and see for the first time exactly which of them have been quietly extracting your power for years. You will not like what you see. You are not supposed to. The architecture was built to remain invisible to anyone willing to be the one who reaches first. If you are tired of being the one who texts first, the one who waits, the one who explains, what follows is the architecture of a mind that cannot be moved. The investment asymmetry. Every time you reach first, every time you text first, every time you confirm the plans, you are signaling to the other person's nervous system that they are the scarcer resource. Willard Waller called it the principle of least interest. The one who needs the relationship less holds all the structural power inside it. This is not a personality trait. It is a sociological law that has been documented for nearly a century. The mechanism does not require anyone to be cruel. It does not require anyone to be conscious. The asymmetry registers in the body before the brain has named it. The person on the other side does not choose to value you less. Their nervous system simply recalibrates around the data you are providing. You are providing too much. Think of it like a market. When you flood the market with your supply, your texts, your affection, your availability, the price of you collapses. The person on the other side is not consciously calculating. Their nervous system is, and it is already adjusting your value downward in real time with every message you send. This is what economists call hedonic adaptation, when it appears inside a single human nervous system. The brain treats any reliable input as background. The signal that was a gift in week 1 becomes wallpaper in week 6. The cost of being available is invisibility. Talleyrand understood this 5 regimes ago. Born into the French aristocracy in 1754, Charles Maurice de Talleyrand served under King Louis XVI, the French Revolution, Napoleon Bonaparte, the Bourbon Restoration, and the July Monarchy, 5 regimes that violently destroyed each other. He survived every single one. The mechanism was not luck, it was not charm, it was that no regime ever managed to make Talleyrand visibly need it. He served each one without ever appearing to be at its mercy. He was the man who would still be there when the next king was crowned. The kings who tried to discard him discovered that the new regime was already negotiating to acquire him before they had finished writing the exile order. The man who appears to need nothing becomes the man without whom nothing can be done. This is the exact same mechanism operating in your life right now. Every person you have ever needed could feel it. Every person who has ever discarded you could feel it. The investment asymmetry does not require malice. It requires only that someone is willing to care less than you do. And in every relationship you have, someone is. Now think about the last time you were ignored, the last time someone you cared about took 6 hours to text back. You drafted, you redrafted, you finally sent something casual. You read the message 30 times before you pressed send. You are not imagining the asymmetry, you are living inside the law. You must stop signaling abundance. You must stop flooding the market. You must let your absence become the data. But this is only the external layer. The deeper mechanism is what happens inside your own brain when you reach first. And it is far worse than what they are doing to you. You now understand the external cost. Every act of visible caring is a price collapse signal to the people around you. But the signal is not the worst part. There is a mechanism inside your own psychology that makes the bleeding self-reinforcing. It turns you into a slot machine that funds itself, and it has nothing to do with weakness. It has everything to do with a neurochemical schedule most psychologists refuse to discuss publicly. The validation machine. You are not choosing to reach out. You are running a neurochemical program installed by every intermittent reward you have ever received. B.F. Skinner mapped this in the 1950s. He called it variable ratio reinforcement. The same schedule that keeps a gambler feeding quarters into a slot machine is keeping you feeding texts into a person whose silence is your most addictive drug. A consistent reward is metabolized as background. A consistent absence is metabolized as rejection and discarded. But an inconsistent reward, a warmth that arrives without pattern, a silence that breaks without warning, is the most powerful behavioral conditioner ever discovered. It is the exact reinforcement structure operating inside your closest relationship right now. When you reach first and receive an inconsistent response, sometimes affection, sometimes silence, sometimes warmth, sometimes the cold draft of being ignored, you are not building a relationship, you are running a behavioral experiment with yourself as the subject. Your brain stops valuing the relationship for what it gives you. It starts compulsively chasing the next intermittent hit of validation. The person who cares less does not need to do anything cruel. They simply need to be inconsistent, and your own neurochemistry will do the rest of the work. Does this sound harsh? Good. Cortés understood it in 1519. When Hernán Cortés landed in Veracruz with 11 ships, his men outnumbered by Aztec warriors and morale collapsing, he ordered the fleet scuttled in the harbor. The act removed the possibility of retreat. His men could not look back for approval. They could not look back for reassurance. They could not look back at all. The only direction was forward. He burned the ships because he knew that the possibility of retreat is the enemy of commitment. The possibility of validation is the enemy of sovereignty. As long as the slot machine can pay out, you will never walk away from it. As long as you can still draft a recovery text, you will draft it. This is the precise opposite of what you are doing. You are building more ships every time you check the message app. You are building more ships every time you send a careful follow-up. You are building more ships every time you give the person who ignored you another chance to give you the inconsistent reinforcement your brain is now demanding. You are not in a relationship. You are in a casino, and you are funding the machine yourself. Look at your closest relationships right now. Look at the people you check on most often. How many of them are people you genuinely respect, and how many of them are people who simply give you enough silence between their warmth that your brain has been chemically hijacked into chasing them? That is not love. That is a slot machine wearing a face. And here is the most uncomfortable part. The people who do this to you are not necessarily cruel. Most of them are not even doing it on purpose. They simply care less than you do, and your nervous system is metabolizing their inconsistency as an addiction. The asymmetry is doing the work. You are paying the bill. You must burn the ships. You must remove the possibility of return. The chains are not on your wrists. The chains are inside your reward circuitry, and only one act removes them. You stop feeding the machine. You let the silence stand. Here is the tactical application. The next time the person you have been chasing goes silent, the next time the message stays unread, the next time the plans evaporate without explanation, you do nothing, not for a moment. For 72 hours, you do not check, you do not reach out, you do not draft and redraft and finally send something casual. You watch. They will fill the silence, they will reach, they will escalate, they will project their own insecurities into the gap you have created. And for the first time in this relationship, you will see with absolute clarity exactly who needs whom. You must do this once, just once. The data it produces will permanently change how you read every relationship you enter for the rest of your life. The sovereignty tax. This is the part nobody warns you about. When you stop being the one who cares first, you will not just lose enemies, you will lose people you love. Because those relationships were not built on respect. They were built on your compliance with being the one who manages the asymmetry. Your friendships were built on your availability. Your family dynamics were built on your accommodation. Your partnerships were built on your willingness to be the one who tries harder. Remove that foundation and the entire structure collapses. Some of those collapses will hurt more than anything you have ever felt. Many of them will hurt because they were never love in the first place. They were transactions you mistook for love because the currency was emotional. Abraham Maslow called this fear by a specific name, the Jonah complex, the fear of your own greatness, the fear of stepping into a self that is bigger than the role you have been performing. You are not actually afraid of losing them. You are afraid of discovering who you are without the comfort of being the one they could always count on to reach first. The role of the eager partner is a cage, but it is a cage you decorated yourself. They will tell you this is cold. They will call you arrogant. They will say you have changed. Let them. Their misunderstanding is not your problem. It is the proof that the asymmetry was real. People do not panic when an equal pulls back. They panic when a tributary stops paying. Catherine de' Medici married into the French royal court at 14. For 20 years, her husband, Henry II, openly conducted his relationship with Diane de Poitiers. Catherine could have spent those years performing wifely affection. She did not. She watched. She learned the court's machinery. She studied who needed whom, and she made herself the one nobody could afford to discard. When Henry died in 1559, the woman who had been visibly ignored for 20 years became the most powerful person in France for the next 3 decades, outlasting 3 of her own sons on the throne. She paid the sovereignty tax. She accepted being unloved in exchange for being indispensable, and the cost purchased her something most people will never own, a position no one could remove her from. You will pay a smaller version of this tax. You will lose the friend who only reached when they needed something. You will lose the relative who only called when they needed to vent. You will lose the partner whose entire affection was structured around the certainty that you would always reach first. The cost is real, the tax is real, and here is the question that ends most viewers' relationships with themselves. If you stop reaching first, how many of the people in your life right now would still be in your life 30 days from today? Be honest with yourself for the next 60 seconds. The people who would disappear were never your people. They were the beneficiaries of your bleeding. You must accept the tax. You must understand that every relationship built on your visible caring is a relationship built on your weakness. Remove the weakness and the relationship either survives on respect or collapses on its own architecture. You did not break it. You simply stopped funding it. The collapse was always in the design. We have exposed the asymmetry. We have identified the machine. We have named the tax. Now we arrive at the final destination, the state that makes everything else possible. The psychological architecture that once built cannot be dismantled by anyone, not by the person who ghosts you, not by the friend who forgets you, not by the family that has trained you for 30 years to be the one who manages everyone else's comfort. The cold throne. When you stop reaching first, you do not become empty, you become a vacuum. And a vacuum is the most powerful force in human psychology because it forces every person in your orbit to fill it with their own projections, their own fears, their own respect, their own desire to be the one who finally breaks through to you. The cold throne is not avoidance. Avoidance is fear wearing the costume of strength. The cold throne is the relational position from which you may care deeply, but you never broadcast it. You may want, but you never appear to need. You may love, but you never volunteer first. The feeling is complete, the transmission is silent. Baldassare Castiglione named the underlying skill in 1528 in the Book of the Courtier. He called it sprezzatura, the studied art of appearing not to care while caring more than anyone in the room. The cold throne is sprezzatura, applied to the entire architecture of your emotional life. You feel everything. You broadcast nothing. Machiavelli told you in The Prince that it is far safer to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. The relational corollary is more dangerous still. It is far safer to be needed than to need. The cold throne is built from that single axiom. You stop volunteering your value, and your value compounds in the silence. When you operate from this state, the entire architecture of your relationships reorganizes itself around you. People will sense the shift before they can name it. They will lean in where they used to lean back. They will reach where they used to wait. They will explain themselves where they used to expect you to explain yourself. The same people who used to make you wait 6 hours will start responding inside 6 minutes. They will call you cold. They will call you arrogant. They will call you detached. Let them. Their misunderstanding is the price of admission to a psychological operating system that 99% of people will never install. They prefer the familiar bleeding to the unfamiliar throne. They prefer being needed to being respected. You must install the architecture. You must accept the tax. You must take the throne, knowing exactly what it costs and exactly what it purchases. The chains are off. The crowd was never your audience. The crowd was your invoice. You walked into this as the one who reaches first. You walked into this as the one who waits, who hopes, who reads silence and tries to translate it into love. You now see the asymmetry, the machine, the tax, and the throne. The question is, are you going to keep funding the slot machine? Are you going to keep being the one who hands their power to anyone willing to care a little less than you do? Or are you going to install the architecture, pay the tax, and become the person whose silence is louder than every word the other side has ever said to you? This is not coldness, it is sovereignty. This is not detachment, it is the only position from which a relationship can ever be entered as an equal. Most people will close this video and go back to texting first. They prefer the familiar pain. They will apologize tomorrow. They will explain themselves next week. They will draft and redraft, and finally send something casual to someone who will not bother to read it for 6 hours. The chains are off. The throne is yours. But it demands something from you. You can never again claim ignorance. You have seen the architecture. You can never unsee it. The only question remaining is what you will do the next time the message stays unread. And it will stay unread. Most people will scroll to the next video. They will absorb the theory and return to the noise. They will keep paying the sovereignty tax to people who were never going to value the bleeding anyway. Keep feeding the slot machine. Keep mistaking the addiction for affection. But somewhere in your life is another mind that should see this. The one who has been the one who reaches first for as long as they can remember. The one who has been quietly paying the asymmetry tax inside a relationship that was never going to honor the payment. Send this to them. Some debts are owed to minds like yours. The frequency has been sent from Mindcrypt. Those who can receive it will find the next transmission. Those who cannot will return to the noise. The question is simply which one you are.